beaches of Ipanema and Copacabana and breathtaking vistas. Quite a view.
Yes, incredible, huh?
Not Brazilian tycoons like Ike Batista, who has the best view in Rio, not to mention a net worth of $27 billion. Most powerful country in South America?
GDP-wise, we are bigger than all the other countries together. And, in the last 16 years, Brazil has put its act together. This is it. Hello? Time for Americans to wake up.
With most of the world's economy stagnant, Brazil's is growing at 7%, 3 times faster than America. It is a huge country, slightly larger than the continental U.S., with vast expanses of arable farmland, an abundance of natural resources, and 14% of the world's fresh water. 80% of its electricity comes from hydropower. It has the most sophisticated biofuels industry in the world, and for its size, the world's greenest economy. Brazil is already the largest producer of iron ore in the world and the world's leading exporter of beef, chicken, orange juice, sugar, coffee, and tobacco, much of it bound for China, which has replaced the U.S. as Brazil's leading trade partner.
And Brazil has the size to match China's appetite.
You have everything.
Big dragon on the other side.
You have everything they need.
Yeah, we have, yeah. You needed Brazil to basically fulfill the
Tobacco, that's not good.
Batista, who has
Why not?
mining,
For smoking.
transportation, and oil and gas,
I don't know what it is. Becker? Becker? Tobacco, yeah, I know.
Orange juice. Speed delivery of iron ore and other resources to Asia. But it's not just commodities that are driving the Brazilian boom. The country has a substantial manufacturing base and a large auto industry. Aviation giant Embraer is the world's third largest aircraft manufacturer behind Boeing and Airbus, and a main supplier of regional jets to the U.S. market.
We're walking into a phase of almost full employment. This country has created almost 1.5 million jobs this year already. It's unbelievable.
Brazil has seen periods of prosperity before, only to have the bubbles burst. It spent billions in the
This is
50s
the
and
capital.
60s moving its capital to a barren savanna near the middle of the country where it built Brasilia, a futuristic city right out of the Jetsons. Then it borrowed billions more to develop the country's interior. Corruption and ineptitude eventually led to a financial collapse, 2,000% inflation, and at the time, the largest financial rescue package in the history of the International Monetary Fund. Then a few years later,
Bom dia, bom dia, bom
walked into
dia.
the president's office.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, known simply as Lula, is a former metal worker with a 4th-grade education and a doctorate in charisma. When he was elected 8 years ago on his 4th try, Lula was a firebrand labor leader with socialist tendencies. Some predicted another Hugo Chavez. When you took office, there were many businessmen both in Brazil and abroad who were very nervous about you, who thought that you were a socialist and that you were going to take the country sharply to the left. Yet these people now are among your biggest supporters. How did that happen?
Look, every once in a while, I joke that a metal worker with a socialist background had to become president of Brazil to make capitalism work here. Because we were a capitalist society without capital. And if you look at the bank's balance sheets for this year, you will see that the banks have never made so much money in Brazil as they have during my government. The big companies have never sold as many cars as they have during my government. But the workers have also made money.
One thing obvious to Lula was the social and economic chasm separating Brazil's rich and poor. He gave the poor families a monthly stipend of $115 just for sending their children to school and taking them to the doctor. The infusion of cash helped lift 21 million people out of poverty and into the lower middle class, creating an untapped market for first-time buyers of refrigerators and cars. But he was also far friendlier to business than anyone expected, encouraging growth and development and maintaining conservative fiscal policies and tight banking regulations that left Brazil unscathed by the world financial crisis.
Lula was the right man at the right time, it seems.
Yeah.
He's a kind of pop star.
Eduardo Bueno is a colorful commentator and best-selling author of popular Brazilian history.
What's his secret? He's streetwise, I guess you can say. He knows people. He knows he knows what they want. He knows how to deal with the rich.
His son was very poor, it's like don't have job and something. And when he become president now, his son have a business by himself, and like poof, the money like just you know. Yeah,
Brazil's next president.
she's the next president.
Lula is former chief
Yeah.
of staff and his handpicked successor.
There are people that believe that once you were
Hello,
born,
Mapi.
Brazil may revert to its old ways.
There's something I'm proud of, because you have told my people that we are not a second-class citizen. We can get things done. We can believe in ourselves. And many people have started to believe.
There are still some non-believers. Given its checkered record for living up to its promise, the rap against Brazil is that it lacks ambition. It's called the Brazilian way. Why do something today that you can pay someone to do the day after tomorrow? Brazilians put up with incredibly high taxes on almost everything, have a high tolerance for corruption, bureaucratic red tape, and according to Eduardo Bueno, harbor a secret love affair with incompetence.
President Charles de Gaulle of France once said that Brazil is not a serious country. Do you believe that? Is Brazil a serious country now? It's not a serious country in several instances, because they say that they're going to do something and then don't do something. Here in Rio de Janeiro, you can invite someone to your house, they say they're going to come and they don't show up. And they don't think it's, who cares? But how can you do business in a loose way? How can you run a country in a loose way?
While many in Brazil's cities lust for first world status, the third world is never far away. For decades, Brazil ignored the festering slums known as favelas, which wrap around Rio, overlooking some of the most valuable real estate in the city. They have been staging areas for street crime against tourists and safe havens for drug gangs so well armed that they brought down a police helicopter a few years ago with heavy machine gun fire. Finally, after years of looking the other way, the military police have begun to move in.
This is a revolution. I myself did not believe this 3 years ago. There is a solution for slums all over Brazil.
But there are also some massive problems with infrastructure. If the road to Brazil's future is long and wide, it is also jammed with traffic and filled with potholes. 90% of the roads in the country are still unpaved, and in the cities there's not much in the way of public transportation. And already there are major delays in the building and renovating of stadiums for the 2014 World Cup.
FIFA, the World Soccer Organization, says Brazil is way behind in making preparations for the World Cup. Will the country be ready?
Look, first, we need to be careful about European perfectionism, because everything that happens here in the South, they think they know better than us.
Noise.
Well,
Sorry.
Europeans may put their minds at ease because
His
we
Portuguese is
organized
worse.
the most extraordinary World Cup ever.
What they didn't make in